everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks in another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we are going to be taking a look at a game that was played between some top-notch players, some downright professional grade heroes that are going to be showing us what they've got on a map that I've actually forgotten the name of here. Spawning as the blue commander, it's going to be Hellshound on, hold on one second, Heraplanium, that's right, Heraplanium, the desert crater-pocked map that we're going to be taking a look at today. The blue Armada commander, clocking in at 52 open skill and bearing the star emblem here, indicating that this is at the very least a previous tournament winner, at least one previous tournament winner, if not multiple here, going to be showing us what they've got right now on the battlefield. Right up here on the front lines too, so that's always really exciting to see. Spawning in also a frontline position on the northern highlands here of the red team. It's gonna be none other than God Hates Cowards. A award-winning Cortex commander right there. As you can see the little medallion on his chest. Maybe I can, hold on, maybe I can go like this. There we are. The adorable little award right there wrapped around that Cortex neck for some stellar gameplay, and surely going to be showing us what they've got here as well. Clocking in at 48 open skill and going to be taking the charge here on top of the red team's scoreboard. Now, suffice it to be said that even at the bottom ranks here, we have High Food at 22 open skill and Longe at 27. We definitely are still representing some talented players, and especially considering that we've got Silver Tails and Bronze Chevrons here as well. So these are definitely some commanders with, at the very least, a little bit of experience. Maybe not the highest OS, but definitely enough experience that I'm eager to see what they can do on the field here, certainly. And it's also interesting to see, of course, that the blue and red commanders are very closely aligned with each other here, basically on the same plane of battle. This entire midsection right here going to be a fierce battle between the blue and the tan and the red and the green and the lavender and the brown. Now, Captain Meow, the pink commander, going to be going up against Zod, and it does look like 1984 has got his work cut out for him against Darkclone over here, a Cortex bot lab commander, already with a couple of ticks across the map right here, trying to find some value, going to be moving out as quick as possible to try and blast down as many of these early metal extractors as possible. Shuriken already in the air here, nicely done. Hey, Launch 27 showing some stellar defense right here, using those early Shuriken from the Cortex lab to paralyze as many of these ticks as possible, making for a very, very easy cleanup in the early game. Nicely done. One of those things that's really annoying to deal with and is an issue that's solved incredibly easily here by a single Cortex commander building a single Shuriken, are these early run-bys, right? It only takes a single blast from a Shuriken to paralyze any of these units, and it means that any of the units that you really want to be making, the pawns, the grunts, all of those, are going to eventually be able to actually clean these up with minimal damage. Eventually, this pink rascal will be blasted down, but the green commander, Commander Zod, will at the very least lose one of these metal extractors for it. Immediately gets to rebuilding it, and I love to see it. One of those things about watching the pros play is that they're always on top of building those metal extractors, or at the very least, they should be always on top of building those metal extractors. Obviously, more common than not that they're going to be prioritizing that eco, because at the end of the day, it's going to be what, more likely than not, wins the game of Beyond All Reason. Another rascal makes it through. Ooh, 1984 doesn't get the shot off. And now there's another rascal on the backline. And there you go. I mean, that is the issue here, is that we don't have a Shuriken to shut this down. I think Trotsky would be well advised to build a single Shuriken to try and shuttle this down, similarly here to what Launch has done early on in this game. Alternative options include, but are not limited to, self-destructing this metal extractor to kill this and make sure that it stays killed. For the time being, this rascal is basically locked in. Oh, well, okay. We're going to abandon the, abandon the rascal right there. Hey, there we go. Some Shuriken do come over in this direction. A little bit of a mess. Nice aggression from the red team, keeping the APM on the blue side of the map rather than aggressing on the other side. Bomber connects right here with the yellow base, the hot pink base, rather. Yellow base, not sure. Well, it's headed towards the yellow base next here, certainly. Maybe gonna skip it, actually. Okay, the yellow base actually the only one it doesn't touch, as it bombs the hot pink, maroon, and orange base right here, taking out wind turbines, metal extractors, and a whole bunch else between those three commanders. Definitely well worth its value right there. One of those bombers coming in at, hold on, let me double check here. 150 metal, 4,600 energy. Means definitely taking out all those wind turbines, but also, of course, taking out those metal extractors does put you in a really nice position. Now, Constructor going to rebuild this metal extractor, and hopefully, yeah, we are going to reclaim this thing here. Not bad. Not bad. Not the worst thing ever, at the very least. It's going to be a decent way of making sure that that gets cleaned up here. Tech's wanting to aggress right here on Meowcat Meow's facilities, but that riot tank is a huge threat to the Tech. Of course, its anti-swarm capabilities are basically unparalleled in the T1 era. Our red commander, God Hates Cowards, stepping forward here, reading the bot lab right now from 8D. and instead going ahead into some of that static defense. Obviously, this means that these units are going to be worthless on the front line, these bots. At the very least, anyways, they're going to have to spend quite a lot of metal, the Green Commander that is, in order to push forward here. Because with that HLT up and running, those Rocketeers really can't push into these defenses very effectively. It's essentially forcing a vehicle transition, which is ultimately what you kind of hope to get to in the front line here. Eventually, vehicles are just overall a little bit better across most flat terrains. It just means that there's no other option here for the Green Commander. But there is always the greed option, and that's certainly something I would be looking into at this point because of the fact that this is an Armada Commander. We have access to those very cheap wind turbines. It means, of course, that extremely potent E-scaling is available in the form of just building gargantuan wind turbine farms, pumping out E-converted metal, and using that to fund a very rapid T2 transition instead of pushing into this army that's basically all the metal being dumped into static defenses right here. Rocketeers pushing forward across the lines right now. We do see the Green Commander with Rocketeers. We have missile trucks right here for the Powder Pink player. Rocket bots for the Orange Commander. Looks like we have actually a lack of rocket bots here for our yellow hero, JTL. Orlani Zykas going into one of those heavy laser towers here, but a little bit less justified on this front line because, of course, this is already a vehicle command. Rompy has that vehicle lab up and running and is producing a bunch of missile trucks. Missile trucks not outranging the HLT, but those high-arcing artillery trucks certainly will. The Shell Shockers are what they're called for the Armada faction. Von Comet actually in a really decent spot here. The Admiral very, very low on HP. As soon as those missile trucks collide with that commander, shredding off 1% or so with every one of their blasts. Yeah, it's decent damage. It might actually be more than a percent. Yeah, it looks like it's maybe 1.5% off of that commander's HP bar. It hurts. It hurts and it adds up quick, and the more that those missile trucks are firing, the more value they're getting. You can see this one already a Silver Star hero right here for the for the Seafoam forces on the southern side. Definitely a risky situation right there for the Hot Pink Commander. Forced back into the retreat here and going to need a swift repair. Centurions in mass available right now for the Powder Blue Commander. That's going to be 1984, trying to hold this line with those good old-fashioned laser meatballs, firing away as much as they can. Those Rocketeers, though, having a wonderful time blasting away from out of range, just doing a phenomenal job of keeping these units very, very scuffed up as they try to march forward here. But there we go. Centurions showing off their stuff right there as they do manage to jump on top of some of those Rocketeers, and more importantly, the LLT right there, pushing back the aggression from JTL and forcing the Yellow Commander to accept the fact that this is not going to be a pushover to steamroll through with these rocket bots. It's going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of effort before this actually all comes up to speed. A couple of walls coming up here for the Orange Commander before being de-gunned to death right there. Okay, not bad. Dark One taking some hits, but otherwise unfazed here. Wow, an aggressive T2 laboratory right here for the Red Commander. My goodness. So the vehicle transition is obvious right here for our green hero. Did I say the Green Commander? The Red Commander. Whoa, pardon me. The Red Commander has the T2 lab up and running. Not going to be able to finish it. Not going to be able to pay for it. Now we've got the vehicles. The Shell Shockers firing away. The static defenses are down. GG is called by God Hates Cowards. And I think I'd have to tend to agree. This is a really bad situation right now for the Red Commander. Are we going to try and pump out the T2 laboratory? Or are we going to try and continue this or retreat backwards? Eat up that metal and spend it in the backline? I don't really know what the plan is here. With those Shell Shockers out on the field, this has become a really difficult line to hold. That commander is also extremely low. 13%, 9%. That commander dropping down rather quickly here. These bombers shot down, by the way. Nice pull from the cyan blue forces right there. And that explosion you heard off in the distance would be the Red Commander going down. This is awful. This is truly awful. Okay, HLT is Garbo. Cries out, God Hates Cowards. As predicted, has come to pass. The T2 Lab handed over now to the Brown Commander, who is taking over for the Red Commander, sort of making a red team sandwich right here. In a dramatic flare right now, the Blue, Lavender, and Tan Commanders have all fallen right here on the front line. Looks like the Tan forces are making a little bit of a swoop around the side here, trying to blast in and save the day. But with that T2 Lab going down, that nearly 3,000 metal completely off the field here from the red bank, that definitely hurts a lot to the economy on the northern side here. I'll tell you where you can find the metal to reimburse yourself, though. It's lying in the corpses on the front lines of this battlefield. Getting some res bots out here and reclaiming all this, the utmost importance right now, because obviously somehow that metal is going to have to be recuperated, and the obvious choice right here is going to be the gigantic corpses of commanders sitting right there for the reclamation. It still leaves a gigantic army unaddressed right here, though, for the Green Commander. Shuriken trying their very best. There's no anti-air here, so they can work quite nicely. Yeah, some pawns doing some good work. The Rocketeer is obviously not suited for dealing with the pawns as long as these continue moving. Shuriken trying their best, but really there's just not enough of them. It's a matter of volume, and there's just really not quite enough. The pawns are blasted apart right here, and the enemy pawns rushing forward are trying to shoot down the Shuriken as well. Wow, Rocketeer killing Shuriken. Definitely a strange situation right there. LLT getting more kills than I think it was supposed to here as well, blasting down some more of these these lowly pawns as they try to rush forward, eventually taking down the LLT. This push is looking tremendous. Yeah, this is really, really nice. This is where the battle is decided, though. This reclaim field, this nearly 5,000 metal that's been eaten down to 3,500, going back towards the Lavender Commander's economy. I'm expecting a T2 transition rapidly. Looks like Mass Meatball coming out for the Blue Commander is a little bit startling. Not entirely sure why we're so focused on the Centurion play here instead of going into good old-fashioned T2. Centurion are great, don't get me wrong. Welders are so much better, though. For nearly the same cost, too, but significantly higher weight-to-cost ratio. Health-to-cost ratio. Pawns in the back line. Now firing away at the firing away at the base of the Purple Commander. Now handed over to the Seafoam Commander. Rompy gives it all up here to Von Comet, who is now singularly holding the southern side. So, what a bizarrely mirrored story right here. Suddenly, the Seafoam Green Commander is in control of all the forces on the southern side. The Brown Commander now in control of all of the forces on the northern side. What a weird kind of match we've stumbled our way into here. Launch trying to rebuild, but the base of the Tank Commander on the southern side is falling rapidly. Beamer turrets are what we needed, but the LLTs will have to do for now. There's really not an option at this point. The construction towers have died. The LLT is really the only thing left standing here. More and more units headed into the backline here. It's just the weirdest walking animation I've ever seen. He's walking sideways. The Maroon Commander calling a resign vote. T2 on the field here now that Sheldon are firing away. Is it enough? I don't think so. Fiend's a much better option at this point. We do see a couple of them streaming out of the laboratory, and at this point, I think these Sheldon are starting to whittle their way back into the efficiency market. It's a little bit of a trick because as soon as these Sheldon get out to the field, they've already been paid for, or rather, the blue team has already paid for their T2 with the corpse of the enemy right here. Longe trying to equalize that somewhat by eating up the corpse of his teammate. Leela tasting delicious apparently here as the Brown Commander slurps up all that metal and enjoys it. Still the issue of more and more units pushing forward here. These wind turbines under threat from the aggravators. Not a issue that we deal with commonly, but it is an issue nonetheless. Can we stabilize? I'm not entirely sure. T2 laboratory up and running, but T2 units we do not have on the southern side. The Admiral also beset upon by a whole bunch of medium tanks. Suddenly the blue team has managed to turn this around. With mass reclaim, a strategic push, and excellent aggression across the field here, this looks like an overwhelming blue victory. It's easy to underestimate the T2. We're handing over more units at this point. My goodness. Everyone on the red team handing over units rather than sticking in the game here, hoping to rebuild. We're just handing it all off so the damage goes to the other teammate, not our own. I suppose the silver lining is that that economy is now going to be going into producing T2 units in the backline. Obviously, getting those T2 units up and running is really, really nice. They can help with dealing with this T1 spam quite easily. And the Beamer turret here is going to do a great job of cutting through the armor on these tanks. Well, as good of a job as it can, I suppose. Welder here also trying to get the most out of its HP pool. But as is the age-old RTS tradition, there really is only so much a single unit can do. More stuff tends to beat less stuff. Janus tank here does get killed. You know what? I mean, the welders and the beamer turrets together are going to be enough to, I think, clean all this up. The fiends here also excellent DPS for blasting down those tanks. It's just a really, really annoying expenditure of APM, while meanwhile, the blue team is more than happy to just continue ecoing up here. You can see the T2 lab is coming up right now for the Seafoam Green Commander. We've got T2 mexes coming up and online here with a air constructor. Everybody is happy to start getting those T2 economies up and online. Darklone doing a great job, though, making the most of that T2 transition and trying to push out into the field as many and as fast as possible. Looks like we have a, we do have a We do have a Tsar heavy tank firing away at its own treads to try and clear itself of all the tick spam that's coming forward here. Not bad at all, of course, because it is effectively the perfect anti-tick weapon. At least for the fact that its AoE is brutal and does a tremendous amount of damage. Okay. Von Comet. Von Comet. Sir, you appear to be right in the middle of your entire army. And I can't help but notice that you're quite low HP as well. 12% HP and the Seafoam Green Commander retreats. Whoa, that got very close right there. Gauntlet firing away into the distance. Oh, if it manages to catch that commander, it would be done for. Lightning tanks coming out of the yellow lab here for JTL, eventually going to help thwart the efforts right now from the Seafoam Green Commander here as well. Radar jammer providing a safety net for the Green Commander on the southern side to retreat back to, and that's quite nice, of course. My goodness, the Orange Commander is really doing it, though. This gigantic T1 push carving a path through the midsection of the map. I will remind you, up to here on the map was dead. This was all captured by the blue forces. It has been thoroughly reclaimed by the T2 spam here from Darklone. No T2 transition right here from the Seafoam Blue Commander, or from the Powder Blue Commander. That is, that's a shame. Certainly a shame. There was tremendous opportunity here to utilize the fact that the enemy team was basically dead and dusted in order to go into that T2, but the opportunity just wasn't taken, and so now we're seeing a little bit of a rebuttal. Very neat. Medium tanks trying to push through here as well. Those brutes taking advantage of that heavy armor plating, or medium armor plating, I guess, technically speaking. Trying their best to try and find some backline economy to snag, and for what it's worth, there is quite a lot back here. We've got tons of E-converters surrounded by wind turbines. It's obviously an explosive combination. No micro right here, though, from this tank means it will go down as the grunts blasted to pieces. Fiends, however, swarming the base. Oh my goodness. The Fiend spam. Obviously miles better than any kind of grunt spam right here. The Fiends and the Lightning tanks bursting through this static defense right here available from the Blue Commander and ravaging the base right now and all the production capabilities that, yeah, Hellshound had to offer. Now Hellshound throws in the towel and hands over all this stuff to 8DX. What a funky kind of match this has ended up being, with multiple different commanders taking over multiple different players' bases. Medium tank, by the way, gaining immense value here. The quad, or the twin guard, rather, firing away here. An excellent example of how the top cannon actually is the only one with extended range. The bottom one doesn't have the full range. You can actually see that here. If I select it and highlight, you can see the inner circle is where the lower cannon is at, and the upper circle is where the top cannon fires. We are still throwing away medium tanks, though, and I have to say, it's one of those ways you can throw away a huge advantage. It's just giving your enemy a bunch of medium tanks to enjoy. All that said, it certainly can't be as big of an advantage right here as these heavy tanks and lightning tanks moving towards the base right here of 1984, looking for a killer D-gun of all time, instead gonna find a thermonuclear end lying dead in the dirt, or just outside the production walls here of that base. Nano turrets falling right here as the wind turbines pop. The E-converters explode like a chain reaction, a beautiful fireworks chain reaction. And suddenly, don't call it a comeback, but my goodness, the red team has managed to pull themselves back. Just barely skewing that field now towards their production capabilities with a metal production overall bonus of 5% and with an energy production bonus of 60%. This match has turned head over heels. I can't believe it. The blue team with overwhelming T1 aggression just wasn't able to close out that era and transition properly into T2. Had they managed to get those T2 labs up and running, those T2 mexes settled, and that T2 economy essentially perfectly established, using the corpses of the commanders here in red, I think this would have been a done deal, but this is exactly what we're looking for in a high-level game of Beyond Our Reason, taking advantage of the fact that your army is only 70% gone, or rather is only 30% gone when it's destroyed there on the field, more or less because of reclaim, of course, and managing to pull themselves back into the game. Suddenly the air player is knocked out, and of course that opens up tremendous opportunities for aerial harassment, but the air player has been preoccupied by T2 right here. The brown commander extremely, preoccupied, I think is the right word here, trying to deal with this push on the front side of the northern side here from 8D, who has decided to go into Bulls, which is a very expensive and low unit count army. I think a whole bunch of lightning tanks streaming through this gigantic open pathway would have suited the green commander a whole lot better. Hindsight is 2020 though, And if you want to see where those Jaguars are getting immense value, you can look no further than the Cyan base of Trotsky, where they have torn apart. I almost said turd apart. Or torn apart? Anyway. Where they have torn apart the base here of not only the Cyan Commander, but actually Von Comment's main production facilities here as well. Heavy tanks, really the ones doing most of the tearing here, though. Those Tigers firing a destructive volley of plasma projectiles. Rapid succession. And with no remorse, devastating the productions right here for the Seafoam Green Commander on the southern side, bypassing, of course, the static defenses, and instead just going for the kill. Well, there really is no better explanation of how you want to play a game of Beyond All Reason than that. I'm pretty sure that just about sums it up. Punching your enemy in the wallet is 100,000 times more effective than punching them in the teeth. Punching them in the army, punching them in anywhere but the wallet, really. The last remaining bastions of technological civilization going to be, of course, the Green Empire on the northern side, still reclaiming a lot of that wreckage nicely here as well, but also the Lavender Commander and the Dark Green Commander, which are both producing some units here as well, trying to keep in the game. Oh, are we going to kill this AGO? Looks like we're trying to kill it without losing too many units. Lightning tanks will pop the AGO. Nicely done. Taking out everything in that vicinity. And, of course, killing those units as well. Important that we go for the splitties right there on these bulls, being that they're nearly the cost of a T3. Well, more than the cost of some T3 units per bull. Definitely well worth trying to keep alive here. Not to mention, of course, the sheer damage that they can do. I mean, you can watch them as they tear apart these medium tanks, and it's pretty easy to see, pretty obvious that they are a devastating piece of kit in the field right here for the Green Commander to take advantage of. That being said, it's important to target them properly, and against these fiends here, which are probably the best, highest damage solution to these tanks rolling across, I think they suddenly become the highest priority, therefore. We are seeing the resurgence of the blue team, though. Sharpshooters firing away wherever they can, the Fiends blasting forward here as well, and we also have some spy bots included for a little bit of that long-range precision. Always good to see. Sharpshooters need spy bots or the like in order to spam as well, in order to see out in front of them. Otherwise, you need to get 3 pinpointers up and running so they can fire into the radar fog of war with 100% accuracy. It's really, really important that you do that, being that each of these cost 1,000 energy every time that they shoot. It's necessary that you're going to spend that much energy, you spend it accurately. Super heavy assault tanks right here, the Tsar, the king of the battlefield, raining down condensed matter hellfire onto these units right here on the front lines. I like the action from the Green Commander trying to push back into this section. Not finding the purchase that I think he was hoping for, though. Yeah, look at that. The ecos suddenly completely flipped on their heads, with the red team pulling far and away into the lead at this point with 160-ish% metal production advantage, obviously plus or minus a little based on the reclaim values that we do have, but still a gigantic benefit. And the overall metal and energy production, I mean, across the board, it's a red advantage here. T3 is the next step of this game. We are ready for it. Fusion reactors are should be coming up and running right here. Looks like the Brown Commander has forgone the fusions. I think 1 or 2 fusions is not a bad idea. At this point in the game, there it is. The T3 is really what we're going to need to step on the T2 that come out and make sure that they don't really have much of an option as far as rebuilding back into this game. Metal extractors up and running here are very important as well, and I love to see that the Maroon Commander is utilizing the Commander for that. You can obviously choose how to do that to your best advantage, but getting something to deal with those metal extractors and reclaim them is super, super important. I'll leave the math to you, but I'll suffice it to say that metal extractors are far and away the most efficient means of metal production in this game. There is none greater. Both on the T2 and T1 and T2 scales. Sumos waddling their way towards the base right here. Funnily enough. Looks like a Scorpion pop-up Sabo battery will be up and running here, though. Firing away at a whole bunch of those, well, both of those Sumos right there. Whittling down their HP bars. Cutting them apart quite nicely. Tremor friendly firing more than anything right now, but those Fiends have done a great job of overwhelming this defensive position. Sharpshooters clicking away because of those ticks right here. Also doing a great job. It's Sharpshooter Welder. And if you know me, you know how much I love my Sharpshooter Welder. One of those compositions that's just so difficult to deal with. Your tick spam gets shut down by the welders. Your everything else gets killed by the sharpshooters. It's a really, really annoying one to go up against. Cloak those sharpshooters and suddenly they can't even be detected by spy bots and counter sharpshootered. You have to send a spam in front. With the welders in front, it's basically impossible to shut down. But it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for that T3 Rampage. Marauder stomping across the field. We'll lock in for a tracking shot as we watch the Marauder pace their way towards the enemy base here. Looking for any opportune target. The Sumo's not really ideal. They're sort of designed to counter Marauder, actually. In the strictest of sense. One Marauder making it into the backlines here. A single Marauder, but sometimes that's all it takes, as it does find the wind turbines here for the Green Commander, managing to get those to chain react and signaling for a resign vote. At this point, wow, it looks like that'll be it here. The blue team calls the resign, and immediately the votes pour in for the yes. The Marauder here, as well as the heavy bombers pushing forward. The frontline facilities torn asunder by a whole bunch of T1. The blue team in a dire, dire way. Without any more tricks up their sleeve, without any more way to crawl back into this game. Oh, nicely done. Nuclear bombers pulling apart the laboratory here, as well as all the build power, shutting down every hope and dream that the blue team had remaining. This is beautiful. Nuki Bees doing good work. Ravaging the bases across the field right here, and I think it's obvious at this point, folks. The blue team has been ripped from any chance of winning this game. Shiva here, bravely fighting the Pitbull. As futile as it may seem, an honorable death to fight against that T2, the ever-encroaching onslaught of T2, as I think we take our sweet time towards this inevitable victory here for the red team. Bombers, Marauders, you name it, but eventually the commander is self-destructed in a glorious sacrifice in order to close out this match. The red team stealing the victory here, back from the hands of the blue, and I can't believe it. What a comeback. Thanks a ton for watching, and I sure hope you enjoyed. If you did, of course, feel free to like and subscribe. Join the Bravers community, and feel free to check out the Discord as well. Always linked below down in the description section, where I hope to see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.